Welcome to J Lowe Artist. Thanks for being here. I'd like to do some things today with color. Come along with me and experience some things and experiment on some things. The key here is that you're enjoying yourself, that you're learning skills that are helping you your whole life, and that you're making your life better, because art makes life better. Come on, let's try together. Okay, thanks for being here, by the way, and drawing along with me. It's always good to draw together. Christmas Kitty. So the first thing we want to do is we want to use our white charcoal and just kind of block in where everything goes. In our composition that we have here, he's kind of central. You're more than welcome to kind of slide him off one way. This is a 12 by 16, and this is a little more square, so I'd slide him off a little bit. I think I'm going to start with this little paw, and then drawing everything and leave a little bit more space on his front side than on the back. So his nose is almost in the middle. I'm going to slide it off just a little bit to the left, so just a little bit more composition that way. So here's his paw. Going to be about right in here somewhere, because it's about a third of the way down through your paper. Maybe that's a little bit big. Maybe I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Move it down at least a little bit. If those lines confuse you a little bit, those are easily erased with a kneaded eraser. You can also sometimes take your finger and just kind of rub it, and that might get rid of some of it. But your kneaded eraser will get rid of quite a bit of it. So if it confuses you a little bit, you can use your kneaded eraser to get rid of it. There's his hat. And if you take the width of his paw that you just stuck in there, move it over about a paw and a half, then his nose is about right in there. I'm just going to put in his nose, because the top of his paw and the top of his nose is just slightly lower than the top of his paw. So I can go in there and say, well, this is the top of his paw. His nose is going to be slightly lower. I can just throw that in as a little triangle. It can be kind of basic with it. That's not exactly what it looks like, but that's okay. We're just blocking things in. There's an eye. Another eye. Fur. And just off to the side there is his little round little hat thing. You don't have to be exact with everything. I would say the eyes and the nose, be as exact as you can on those, but everything else can be off just a little bit. And even those, I mean, the cat, it's kind of slouching, and whenever you kind of put pressure on things like that, they distort a little bit. I'm going to start with the eyes. I'm going to get the face done, because everything else can kind of, even if you lose your reference, you can kind of draw those in anyway. But you need your reference for the tight details, the emphasis where you are. So as I'm looking here at my my colors, your first instinct is to use the color you see, and that's great, but we want to add more color to this. Yeah, you could use a green or a purple or a blue. Usually your grays are the cool side, and so not that we can't use any grays in there, but we want this very colorful. We want a lot more color in there than we've got. In the white part of the fur, some of those shadowy areas, I'd probably use blues and purples. So it's kind of up to you what you want to start with. You could even start, since we're doing it on black, it's that chiaroscuro kind of an idea. So I'm going to start just with a little bit of white, just to help me get some of my lights in there. And I always start with the eye, or around the eye. So that's what I'm going to do. I like to draw like this to lay out. If you're holding it like this, that's fine. But this gives you a little more room, and it keeps your hand up off the page. This will smear very easily. So if you're drawing like this and your hand is on the page, it's kind of your detail mode. And so get your hand up off the page and just use your elbow and your shoulder to draw with. So I'm just ever so lightly here and there. You don't need it everywhere. See a little shine in his eye? Put that in there. And this is very grainy board, if you will. You've got to have a board that's a little tooth to it. Give yourself a little bit of space to blend some of those. So that little bit of a tooth is important. And I'm not pressing hard. This is very, very light. We could have just as easily started with another color. Cool thing about oil pastels is they're very spontaneous. And for those of you who like emotion and feeling in your artwork, this is a great way to do it. And again, I'm not pressing real hard, just barely putting some on the surface. I'm just using that white to kind of block in some of the little light areas. Again, it's kind of like that chiaroscuro kind of a thing, where you've got black. It's already on your board. Just use it. One thing you don't want to do is draw a line around everything. Hopefully I've ingrained that in your mind, because your edges will take care of themselves. Even if they're lost a little bit, they'll take care of themselves. Sometimes I go overboard a little bit that way, because I want you to realize that. After a while, you can start doing edges around things, but more knowledgeable about how they affect your object and your meaning, what you want to have happen. You can always come back in and add more light later. One thing about Impressionism is that the artists would look at an object and then look away from it and say, what color was I impressed by? Not what color is actually there. What color am I impressed by? Did I see blue? Did I see purple? You kind of have to kind of look at it and say, you know, what am I looking at? What kind of colors am I looking at? I see some magenta, I see blues. Let's start with the reds, just get the reds in, get those done and over with. Maybe those are going to help us to see some other colors that are in there. So I'm going to start with some orange, even some of that light orange, that kind of yellowy orange, in the highlights of the red. So as I go through, this is just the lightest areas of the red. Like a vermilion, kind of an orangey yellow. That's going to keep that red kind of warm. I'm just going to do the lightest parts of the red. And his red hat is a little different than the red blanket thing that he's laying on. Might be somebody's arm. I think it's somebody's arm. Somebody has a red sweater on and they're holding him. So then the red in there, this red is going to be fairly dark. And that's just kind of something that I experienced, that red becomes kind of dark against the black. And then there's this kind of orangey red that you can put in there too. It might even just be orange. But don't be afraid to be kind of spontaneous. If you look at it and you think, well, I feel like putting it there, go for it. So this is just the orange, but you can go over that yellow orange, over the red a little bit, and it'll start to blend a little bit. Remember that you don't have to smear them or anything. Just let them do their thing. Leave it kind of juicy. That nice color, the streakiness of it. we can always come back into this with more. Ready to do his eyes too. They're kind of green. So when you're ready for that, just leave out anything that's black. You could just leave that out. Mine looks like a sage green. It's not your perfect green, but if it's a little black, just leave that out. Got those little kitty pupils. They're kind of a football shape. And just for a little warmth, I've got this, it's kind of an intense yellowy green. Just gonna put just a little bit of that in there, just to enhance that and make that lightest area kind of pop a little bit. And you just do as much as you think you need. You don't need much. It really will pop without it. So just added just a little bit of that into it. There's a really dark green in there. If you needed just a little bit around some of those edges, you could do that too. Not sure you need it. Now, what are you going to do for the fur? I'm going to pull out this sky blue. It's kind of a light blue. And this kind of lavender purple. I'm going to use some of the lavender purple on this side and some of that blue on the other side. So lavender purple. So let's start with the nose. There's probably a little bit more pink and peach in the nose. But I'm going to start with this purple. The other question is, how do I know what colors to use? I just kind of look at it. Every situation, every picture you draw is going to be different. And so you just kind of look at it and say, what do I want to use? What do I feel like using? Every day is going to be different too. Got too much white there by his nose. I'm going to do a little bit of erasing with this vinyl eraser. It will smear off some of that. I mean, it doesn't get it all completely. It will get quite a bit off. So if you need to erase a little bit, get back to some of that black, that vinyl eraser will work. Or I suppose you could add a little bit of black to it. I'd probably put a little bit of peach or some of that real intense pink into it right there. But we can do that later. This is just that sky blue. I want to put it into any of the light areas. They're kind of that mid-tone, mid-gray. You don't have to do it everywhere, just a little here and there. Maybe that's all it needs. You can even do this up into the fur if you wanted to. You got some of those little areas that maybe aren't quite as bright as white. It's got a little bit of shadow into it. A little light blue would be a good thing for it. A little light blue in there. Like I said, we can always come back into it and add more. It's kind of spotty. So if you just leave little sections out, some of that spottiness will come through. But again, just to remind you that this is kind of impressionism. You're just doing colors that you are impressed with. Hang realism. Realism isn't what we're trying to attain here. We're trying to get it so it looks nice. And maybe even to explain to other people, this is my vision, this is what I see. If it doesn't work out, it's okay. It's practice, right? Just practicing. Camera's not picking up the red, but this is far more red back here than it is up there on the camera. I don't know why. This is some more of that purple. It's kind of a, I don't know, maybe I want to go a little darker. I'm going to try this little darker purple and see if that makes any difference. This is just the kind of purpley, I don't know what color it is. I almost stop looking at colors and just say, you know, what's more important here is value, lightness and darkness. But this purple's kind of lovely in there. We're just layering in the colors. The last thing we're going to do is really bring out the contrast, the darks and the lights. So for now, let's just layer in color, whatever you feel like you need. Again, everybody's a little different. Is it coming through for you? It's kind of starting to work out. This is a yellow ochre. It's kind of a golden yellow. It's not real bright. But I'm going to put just a little bit in his nose, because it looks like it needs a little warmth to me there. Over the top of that purple. Now the yellow and purple are complementary colors. So if you put a little bit of this yellow over that purple, it's going to kind of cancel it out. You can put it anywhere you want to put it. Or you may not even want to use it. Maybe you look at it and go, oh, I don't like that. Just a little bit to warm things up. I don't know what color this is. It's kind of a reddish, orangey red. Just going to kind of use this to kind of scumble some of those colors together. Kind of smooths it out a little bit. Like I said, my camera's not picking up the red like it should. So some of the red, the orangey red, whatever you need. I wonder if some of that purple would look good in that red. Let me try it. Huh. And this is where you can now start getting a little spontaneous. You've got your basics, your form, and everything in. Now go ahead and get juicy with that color. Just lay it in. Kind of forget about it. Got your lights and your darks. You didn't have to worry about the charcoal, that white charcoal. It kind of blends with it. Our contrast, we really want a lot of contrast in there. So towards the end of whatever it is that you're working on, make sure that contrast is real bright. That white can blend some of those colors that are underneath, like the blues that I've stuck under there, even some of that red. Can blend a little bit of that together. You want that contrast to really pop. If you want some really shadowy areas, there's an indigo blue. It's kind of a dark blue that's in there. That kind of helps a little bit here and there too. It's up to you. Some of those areas think they're really dark, but they're not black. Try that indigo blue. Then, if you want to blend some, you just take your finger, and I'm going to use my little finger here. I'm just going to kind of roll it in a little circle and just kind of blend it a little bit. It smooths it out a little bit. It kind of blends whatever's underneath, but you don't want to blend too much. You just kind of take it and give it a little rub. You may or may not like that. I don't know. It's up to you. You can use a little cotton swab. This is far too purple in the screen than it is back here, isn't it? See, that up there is too bright compared to what I've got here. I'm going to add a little bit of black around his eye. That is going to make that eye pop too. Just a little bit here and there. You don't have to have a lot. With the black of your paper, you'd think, well, that's enough. But you add that little bit of black to it, and you're like, wow, that's a lot darker. This is what I mean by adding your darks and your lights at the very end. If it's a little too intense, give it a little push with your finger. That'll blend it. In my opinion, eyes are kind of the window of the soul. So I really like the eyes. I like to do those first. Again, I'm just taking my finger and just kind of scumble that a little bit. You may or may not like that kind of scumble thing, but you can always go back over the top of it, add some more highlights, some more texture. Kind of up to you what you do with it. Just word to the wise, don't scumble too much. It ends up being kind of muddy. You can go one way or another. You don't always have to go in the same direction. You can even just lay your finger in there and twist it if you want. A little dark around his nose, just a little bit. Sometimes if you want to just take away some of the brightness of your color, you can scumble it a little bit. This is that indigo blue kind of stuff. You can use that too. Remember, we're doing lots of colors. Make it colorful, make it juicy. Okay, you guys ready to go crazy? You just go crazy with color. You just lay it down, be very spontaneous. Highlights, get those lights and the darks in. So the last thing you want to do is sign it. Hope you enjoyed Christmas Kitty and oil pastels. They can be a lot of fun, a lot of spontaneous. Notice we never even used the gray. Just have fun with it. I hope you all have a lovely day. And remember, art makes life better.